Representing the kayak category, the Old Town Predator XL Minn Kota has an overall length of 13 feet 2 inches and a beam of 3 feet. Made for exploring and stealth, she has a dry weight of 92 pounds and a max load of 600 pounds. Now, let's hear more from our hosts, Dave East and Rick Riles.
Now for something a little different you haven't seen before on Best Boat, we're going to look at kayaks. This is the Old Town Angler. This particular model is the Predator XL. And what separates this kayak from most of the other ones out there has a built-in Minn Kota trolling motor right here.
Let me tell you something. You know how us old guys are. It takes us a minute to get used to something new. It didn't take me long, and man, is this a cool weapon.
Well, the paddles are cool, and that's what most people are going to use to propel themselves with the kayak, but I think the main difference with having the Minn Kota trolling motor is distance. It gives us range. This morning, we went way back in the savannas, and I tell you what, if you'd have wanted me to paddle back there and paddle back, I probably would have said no, let's stay closer to the ramp. But the fact that we had the Minn Kota trolling motors, we used them to get us back to where we wanted to fish, and then we could slow down, slower pace, use the paddle, and take your time and pick your way along the shoreline like you normally do.
Okay, you want to talk about maximizing space. Let's walk this thing bow to stern. First off, if you've carried as many kayaks as I have, you'll love that handle. Okay, it does not hurt your hand to carry it. But look how intricate they put those flaps up there to hold the tips of your rod. Because as you're paddling through weeds, you're constantly getting your rod snagged on stuff. Come back a little further, dry storage, okay? Do you realize what these are for?
Well, you told me earlier, this is for mounting any kind of hard points. In other words, rod holders, depth finders. I mean, I've seen some of the kayaks out there, and they're maxed out. They've got adjustable rod holders, they've got a bottom machine, they have GPS. They have just as many features as you would see on a typical boat.
We got more dry storage right here. And one of my initial prejudices against motorized kayaks was, oh, the motor hangs so low, I won't be able to get it shallow. All you gotta do is grab this handle and pull the motor up out of the way.
Well, when I first sat in, I saw these pedals, and they're adjustable. For someone that's really long or really short or whatever, you can move the pedals and have them fit your feet. But it's just like taxiing an airplane. You have a rudder back here, right? If you push to the right, you go to the right. If you push to the left, you go to the left. And here again, you can adjust them to really fit you so you're comfortable, so your knees aren't all bent or you're too stretched out. But you've got a little rope here on the side. You get in really shallow water like we are now, you can pull and you can flip that rudder up, and now it's out of your way. Or let's say you want to back up into some weeds or into some mangroves or something like that. You can get the rudder out of the way and it's not going to hang up.
And get the whole idea of lugging the battery out of your mind. Not nearly as heavy as you think, and it fits in a bracket right back here and plugs right in. There's nothing to putting the motor or the battery in the kayak at the ramp. It's a whole lot simpler than you think. I'm telling you, it took me a few minutes to get used to it. Once I got used to it, I could crawl down a shoreline like never before by just, like you say, adjusting the rudder and just barely adjusting the speed. Man, there's no way a fish heard me coming.
The 12-volt motor in here, it'll run off a single battery. You don't have to carry two. It's got plenty of thrust to drag this thing around like a rag doll. You've got a little switch down here for forward and reverse, and you can, it's like an infinite control. You can just, like you were saying earlier, just ease down the shoreline. You can back up. It's got a little indicator that tells you when it's time to recharge your battery, tells you when you have a full charge, half charge. They've even put a USB port in here so you can charge your cell phone. Well, the seat too, it's got so many adjustments on it, it's crazy. You can adjust the angle. You can take it all the way out if you want more room to stand up, but then you can adjust these straps too. Earlier, we had it laid back. We let that little rainstorm go through. I could see staying in this boat all day long and being comfortable. Well, everywhere you look, there's something else. You've got built-in cup holders. You have built-in handles here. You've got a place to store your big tackle box back here. They've done such a great job with space. There's really nowhere you look on here that haven't taken and built in some type of feature that's useful. Rod holders back here, like we had said earlier, for the tips up forward. There's a lot of thought went into the design of this. Well, I guess really we've gone through the features of the kayak. We've talked about, with their accessibility and what they can do. I guess the very last thing we have to do is race back to the ramp, because these things are fast and I believe I can outrun you.
Well, A, you can't, and B, you better understand that there's going to be some red on my back panel because Rubbin's racing.